Jax Rylan came to the clinic for a routine stabilizer shot. He walked in expecting a sore arm and a boring lecture. Instead, the alien nurse's hand froze after the needle left his skin, her eyes wide with sudden terror. She leaned close, voice shaking like a failing engine, and whispered the words that made Jax's blood turn cold. That wasn't meant for humans. The station that never slept. Kestrel Ring Station always smelled like metal heat and recycled air. It was a working station, not a tourist hub. Cargo, repairs, and quiet deals happened here. Humans were common, but still treated like new arrivals by most older species. Jax worked as a dock engineer. He fixed what others refused to touch: old couplers, cracked seals, unstable power relays. Humans did that a lot. The jobs nobody wanted always seemed to fall to the ones who could improvise. His appointment was simple. Gravity shifts had been messing with his bones. He needed a mineral stabilizer and a quick scan. Nothing dramatic. He even brought a snack bar for afterward. The nurse with tired eyes. The nurse who called his name wasn't human. She was Sorin, pale-skinned with thin silver lines under the eyes that moved when she blinked. Her badge read, Neris Call. She spoke softly, but fast, like she was always racing time. Her uniform was neat, but her hands showed stress, tiny tremors she tried to hide. "Dock engineer?" she asked while guiding him to a small treatment room. "Yeah," Jax said. "I keep the station from falling apart." Neris gave a short, tired smile. "Then you are very valuable." Jax sat in the chair. The room was clean, bright, and full of equipment made for many species. He watched Neris open a chilled cabinet. Inside were rows of labeled vials, colors, symbols, and codes. She hesitated for half a second. Jax noticed. He didn't know why that pause scared him more than the needle. The injection. Neris swabbed his arm and slid the needle in with clean skill. The sting was quick. Jax exhaled. "Easy," he said. "I've had worse from loose wiring." Neris tossed the syringe into disposal. Then she stopped moving. It was like someone switched her off. She stared at the empty vial in her hand. The silver lines under her eyes began to glow faintly. "No," she whispered. Jax sat up straighter. "No, what?" Her lips parted, but no sound came out for a moment. Then she stepped close, almost too close, her voice barely audible. "That wasn't meant for humans." Jax blinked. "Okay. You're gonna have to explain that with full sentences." The secret that could ruin her. Neris looked at the door as if it might open at any second. Then she lowered her voice even more. "The stabilizer I gave you was for Sorin neural pathways. We sense more than humans do. The medication activates dormant circuits. In humans, it is untested." "Untested like?" "Might feel weird untested." Jax asked. "Untested like?" "Might cause cascade failure untested." Jax's throat went dry. "Cascade failure, in my brain." Neris swallowed. Her fingers pressed hard into her palm, a controlled panic. "Yes." Jax stared at her for a long moment. Then he forced a shaky breath. "How long until we know if I'm fine?" 6 hours, she said. "If something severe happens, it will show within 6 hours." Jax's fear turned into anger for 1 second, then he saw her face, and the anger slipped away. She looked terrified, yes, but also trapped. Like a person standing on the edge of a cliff, holding a broken rope. "Why not report it right now?" Jax asked. Neris flinched. "Because I will be expelled from the station. I am already under review. A single incident ends my residency. I will be sent back to the Dominion." "The Dominion?" Jax asked. Her eyes hardened. "Where choices are assigned. Where mistakes are punished publicly." Jax understood that kind of place. Humans had built them too, back home. Humans had also learned to break them. A human deal. Neris pulled out a handheld scanner. "I can monitor you. Every 15 minutes. If anything goes wrong, I will call emergency support, even if it ruins me." Jack stood, rolled his shoulders, tested his balance. He felt normal. Too normal. "All right," he said. "You monitor me. But you don't leave this room. Not once." Nerys exhaled like she'd been holding her lungs shut. "Agreed." Jax pointed a finger at her. "And if I live, you owe me dinner." Her expression cracked, just slightly. Human humor is aggressive. "It's survival," Jax said. She lifted the scanner to his temple. "Then survive." And the waiting began, 6 long hours, while unseen systems kept counting vials, logging data, and building a silent trap around them both. A sound he shouldn't hear. 2 hours passed. Jax made jokes. Nerys scanned him like a machine with a conscience. Then Jax tilted his head and frowned. "Someone outside is complaining," he said. Nerys stiffened. "That is impossible. This room is insulated." Jax blinked. "I can hear him clearly. He's yelling about appointment delays and calling the front desk a bureaucratic parasite." Nerys's scanner beeped once, sharp and fast. Her eyes widened at the readings. "Your auditory cortex is elevated," she whispered. "Not dangerously, but far beyond baseline." "So the alien drug gave me better hearing," Jack said. "Great. I'll finally hear my boss lie in HD." The world gains extra layers. Lights looked different. Not brighter, more detailed, like Jax could see the edges of colors. He stared at the ceiling panels and realized something strange. He could see a faint glow around living things. Not a halo. Not magic. Just signals. He looked at Nerys and noticed the silver lines under her eyes pulsed softly, like a heartbeat made of light. "That's new," Jax muttered. Nerys swallowed. "You may be perceiving Sorin spectrum wavelengths." Jax took a breath. "Okay. So far, upgraded hearing, upgraded sight. Not dead yet." Nerys didn't smile. She was watching the numbers like they might suddenly jump and kill him. The third sense. Then it hit him. A feeling, not his own, filled the room. Cold and sharp. Jax grabbed the chair arms. That fear isn't mine." Nerys went still. He looked at her. "It's coming from you." Her voice came out thin. "You are sensing resonance." "Resonance," Jax repeated. "So I can feel what you feel." "Yes," she said. "Not thoughts. Presence. Emotional pressure." Jax leaned forward, slow. The fear was heavy, but underneath it was something else. "You're not just afraid," he said quietly. "You're determined." Nerys's eyes flickered. "If I fail again, they win." "Who?" Jax asked. Nerys hesitated. Then she spoke like the truth was painful. "The Var Dominion controls my home. They control medicine too. They decide who deserves comfort and who deserves pain. I fled to practice real medicine. If I return, I become property." Jax felt the words like a punch. Humans hated cages, especially the ones built out of rules. The moment humans become dangerous. Jax stood and paced. His senses were sharp enough to hear the hum inside the walls. He could hear distant station systems shifting load like a living beast. He looked at the clinic console, standard station network access, medical permissions, locked behind alien protocols. Then he felt it. A faint emotional signature in the corridor. Steady, confident, cold. Someone important was coming. Nerys read his face. "What?" "Someone's walking this way," Jax said. "Not staff. Not normal." Nerys moved to the door panel, checking the hallway camera. A tall figure appeared on the feed, black uniform, white insignia. Compliance Division. Nerys's fear spiked so hard it made Jax flinch. "They're not here for me," Jax said. "They're here for you." "They track inventory," Nerys whispered. "The vial. The log. The system will flag it." Jax didn't panic. Panic was wasted fuel. He listened to the station, to the systems, to the rhythm of control. Humans survived because they could do one thing better than anyone else. They could make a new plan in the middle of a disaster. Jax pointed at the console. How fast can you pull the scan logs from my session? Neris blinked. Why? Because if they're coming, we don't beg, Jax said. We negotiate. And if negotiation fails, we outsmart them. Neris hesitated only a second. Then she started typing. I should have reported this, she said, voice shaking. Jax shook his head. No. You should have been allowed to make one mistake without losing your life. The corridor steps grew louder, and Jax realized something that made his stomach twist with hope and fear. Whatever was inside him wasn't just a risk. It might be a weapon. Not a gun. A weapon made of understanding. And humans were terrifying when they understood how their enemies worked. The knock came like a judge's hammer. Neris flinched so hard Jax felt it in his bones, even without the resonance running full strength. The fear in the room wasn't just, I might lose my job fear. It was the kind of fear that comes from knowing someone powerful has been waiting for a mistake like this. The door slid open. 2 figures entered. The first was station security, neutral, bored, routine. The second was not bored at all. He wore a dark uniform with a clean white insignia shaped like a closed fist inside a circle. His posture was perfectly straight. His face had the calm emptiness of someone trained to feel nothing in public. His skin was a muted slate color, and his eyes were too still, like cameras that never blinked. Jax didn't need a badge to know what he was. Compliance Division. The inspector looked at Neris first, then at Jax, then at the medical console, like he could smell lies. Mr. Jax Rylan, he said. His voice was smooth. Nurse Neris call. I am Inspector Carr Vox. This is an audit. Neris tried to speak, but her throat tightened. Jax saw her hands drift toward the scanner, like it was a shield. Carr Vox's gaze landed on Jax's arm. A vial was dispensed under your appointment. The vial was not labeled for human use. Jax kept his face neutral. Inside, his thoughts were sprinting. So it wasn't maybe. It was already flagged. Which meant the system was fast. And the Dominion was faster. It was a mistake, Neris blurted, then stopped like she'd stepped off a cliff. Carr Vox's mouth lifted by a fraction. Not a smile. A confirmation. Mistakes, he said softly, are why the Dominion maintains order. Jax felt his heart rate climb, but he didn't let it show. Humans had learned long ago that fear was a signal predators watched for. He leaned back in the chair as if this was mildly annoying, not life-threatening. It's already done, Jax said. So what exactly are you auditing? A box that's missing one vial. Carr Vox turned his eyes to Jax like a blade turning toward fresh skin. I am auditing intent. I am auditing liability. I am auditing the risk you now represent. The station security officer shifted slightly, uncomfortable. That was interesting. Even station security didn't like compliance division. Neris's voice came out small. I monitored him. Every 15 minutes. I was ready to call emergency support. Carr Vox stepped closer to the console. You did not report the administration error. Neris started. Jax cut in before she could dig the hole deeper. Because she handled it. If my vitals were stable and I consented to observation, there was no reason to drag the whole wing into panic. The word consent hung in the air like a tool. Carr Vox tilted his head. You consented to receive alien medication. Jax blinked slowly, like he was deciding whether to take offense. Not intentionally. But once it happened, I chose to stay calm and let her monitor me. Carr Vox studied him for a long moment. Jax met his eyes without flinching. Then the inspector said, I will require a full statement from you both. Immediately. Separately. Neris's face tightened. Separated meant controlled. Separated meant he could twist the story and break them apart. Jax stood up slowly. His new hearing, still sharper than normal, caught something faint from the inspector's collar unit. A tiny hiss of sound, almost hidden under the clinic hum. A private channel. And through the static, one phrase reached him, clear enough to freeze the blood in his veins. Confirm, then detain the nurse. Jax kept his expression flat. But inside, a switch flipped. So this was never about safety. It was about grabbing Neris while she was vulnerable. He glanced at Neris. Her eyes were wide. She was staring at Car Vox like prey staring at a trap. Jax moved just a little, subtle, placing himself between her and the inspector as if he was simply adjusting his stance. You can take my statement, Jax said, calm, but not separately. Car Vox's voice sharpened. That is not your decision. Jax nodded once. Actually, it is. I'm the patient. If you're claiming I'm a risk, then I'm also a legal entity. Station law protects patients from coercive interrogation during medical monitoring. Car Vox's eyes narrowed. You are quoting station law. Jax shrugged. I fix docking systems. I also read contracts. You don't survive in human sectors without learning how people try to own you. That landed. Even the station security officer looked slightly impressed. Car Vox's tone stayed polite, but the cold under it became obvious. You are obstructing an audit. I'm preventing a convenient arrest disguised as an audit, Jax said. Neris's breath caught. Car Vox's gaze snapped to her. You will remain silent. Jax stepped half a pace forward. No. The word was simple. Human. Heavy. Car Vox stared at him, like he couldn't decide whether to be amused or angry. Humans are bold, he said. It is why you are dangerous. Jax nodded like he accepted the compliment. And you're careful. That's why you're predictable. The inspector's eyes tightened. Jax continued, voice steady. You want intent? Fine. Here's intent. This wasn't a sabotage. It wasn't contraband. It was an accident followed by professional monitoring. If you're here to protect station safety, your priority should be my health, not her punishment. Car Vox turned to the console again. Provide logs. Neris hesitated. Her fingers hovered over the panel. Jax could see the war inside her, truth versus survival. Jax spoke quickly, low, without looking away from the inspector. Give him the monitoring logs. The real ones. It proves you didn't hide the effects. It proves you acted fast. Neris swallowed. Then she did it. She transferred the data. Car Vox scanned it. His expression didn't change, but his stillness deepened. Like a machine processing a new variable. You experienced sensory enhancement, Car Vox said to Jax. You heard beyond human range. Jax nodded. Temporarily. And emotional resonance. The inspector said it like a forbidden word. Jax felt the last faint trace of that third sense flicker in his chest, like an echo of a power that didn't fully belong to him. Briefly. Car Vox looked at Neris. You activated dormant human circuits. Unauthorized. Neris finally found her voice, trembling but clear. I did not intend it. But I prevented harm. Car Vox held her gaze. Intent does not erase outcome. Jax leaned slightly forward. Outcome is that I'm alive. Car Vox turned to the station security officer. Lock the door. The officer hesitated. Inspector, is that necessary? Patient rights. Car Vox's eyes cut to him. Do you question Dominion Compliance Authority? The officer's jaw tightened, but he tapped the panel. The door locked with a soft click. Neris's face drained. Jax felt anger rise, hot, bright, but he kept it under control. Humans didn't win by emotion alone. They won by using emotion as fuel, not steering. He raised his hands slowly in a calming gesture. You're making this worse, he said, almost gently. Car Vox's voice stayed smooth. You are already worse. Jax took a breath and made a decision. If they were trapped, then the room had to become a stage. Inspector, Jax said, you want to know what happened? Fine. But we do it correctly. We bring in a neutral medical director as witness. We record this statement under station oversight, not Dominion preference. Carr Vox's eyes sharpened. Why? Because you're not here for truth, Jack said. You're here to claim control of it. And humans don't hand control away for free. For the first time, Carr Vox's calm cracked, just a hair. Jax pressed the advantage. Call the medical director. Or I file an emergency patient rights complaint. That complaint goes public on station channels. That makes your audit a scandal. Neris stared at Jax like she couldn't believe he was doing this. Carr Vox paused. A long pause. Then, almost reluctantly, he tapped his collar unit. Medical Director Vera Sol, he said. Attend treatment room C12. Now. Jax's pulse hammered, but his face stayed steady. A human could be afraid. A human could be outgunned. But a human could still choose the battlefield. And Jax had just forced the Dominion to fight in the light. The lock stayed shut. The inspector stayed cold. Neris stayed standing, shaking but not collapsing. And somewhere in the walls of Kestrel Ring Station, the systems kept humming, unaware that a simple mistake had just turned into a test the Dominion had never prepared for. A test of what humans do when cornered. Medical Director Vera Sol arrived faster than Jax expected. That alone told him something important. People didn't move fast for accidents. They moved fast when politics were involved. The door unlocked with a soft chime, and she stepped in, tall, sharp-eyed, her skin a muted amber tone common among the Solari species. Her coat was pristine, her posture balanced between authority and caution. She took in the room in seconds, the locked door, the compliance officer, the tense nurse, the human patient standing instead of sitting. Her gaze lingered on Jax. Why is my treatment room locked? She asked calmly. Inspector Carr Vox inclined his head. Precaution. Vera Sol's eyes flicked to the station security officer. Unlock it. The officer didn't hesitate this time. The door unlocked. Jax let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Vera turned fully to Carr Vox. This station operates under joint charter. Dominion authority does not override medical ethics without cause. There is cause, Carr Vox said. A human received unauthorized ethrin medication. Vera's eyes sharpened. And the patient survived. Yes, Carr Vox said. Which makes him a risk. Jax couldn't help it. He laughed once, sharp and humorless. That's the most alien sentence I've heard all week, he said. Vera raised an eyebrow. Explain. Jax straightened, feeling something settle inside him. Not fear. Focus. I didn't die. I didn't seize. I didn't harm anyone. But because I adapted instead of breaking, I'm suddenly dangerous. Carr Vox folded his hands behind his back. Humans are known for unpredictability. True, Jack said. But that's usually because nobody bothers to ask us what we're doing. Vera gestured toward the console. Nurse call, your report. Neris swallowed hard, then spoke. Her voice shook at first, but steadied as she went. I administered the wrong stabilizer. I recognized the error immediately. I monitored the patient continuously for 6 hours. No emergency response was required. And you did not report the error, Vera said. Neris met her gaze. I intended to, once the patient was stable. That was true. Mostly. Vera studied her. Then she turned to Jax. And you consented to continued monitoring? Yes, Jax said. Fully. Informed. Terrified, but informed. Vera nodded slowly. Inspector, the patient's rights were not violated. Carr Vox's jaw tightened. They were exposed. Jax felt the room lean toward conflict. So he did what humans always did best. He reframed the problem. What if this isn't an exposure? Jax said. What if it's data? Both aliens turned to him. Jax continued. Careful now. You've got logs. Neural activity. Sensory enhancement. Temporary emotional resonance. All of it documented. Vox's voice hardened. You are suggesting we legitimize an error. I'm suggesting, Jax said, that you stop pretending this is about protocol and admit it's about control. The room went very quiet. Vera's eyes flicked to Vox. Careful. Jax kept going anyway. You don't like this because it proves something, he said. Humans aren't locked out of alien systems by nature. Just by design. Vox's eyes burned. You assume too much. Do I? Jax asked. Because I didn't steal your tech. I didn't hack anything. I just took a wrong injection and adapted. That word hung there. Adapted. Vera folded her arms. What are you proposing, Mr. Rylan? Jax took a breath. This was the jump. No safety net. Reframe the incident as a controlled micro-exposure study, he said. Limited. Monitored. Transparent. You don't bury it, you own it. Neris stared at him. Vox shook his head. Impossible. This violates Dominion biointegrity law. Jax nodded. Then say that out loud. On record. Explain why learning scares you more than mistakes. Vox stepped closer. You are a laborer. Jax stepped closer too. And you're standing on a station built by laborers, he said quietly. Powered by them. Maintained by them. Fed by them. Vera raised a hand. Enough. She looked at Jax for a long moment. Then she looked at Neris. You documented everything, she said. Yes, Neris replied. Every scan. Every symptom. Vera turned to Vox. If we suppress this, it becomes rumor. If we document it, it becomes precedent. And precedent invites chaos, Vox said. No, Vera said. It invites oversight. That was the word he hated. Jax saw it on his face. Vera tapped her pad. I am classifying this as an internal medical incident with research potential. Pending ethics review. Vox's eyes narrowed. You cannot. I can, she said sharply. This station answers to more than one flag. Silence stretched. Then Vox spoke, voice cold as vacuum. The Dominion will monitor this closely. Jax smiled without warmth. I hope so. Vox turned on his heel and left. The room felt lighter immediately, like pressure vented from a sealed compartment. Neris exhaled shakily and sat down hard in a chair. You didn't have to do that, she said to Jax. Yes, Jax replied. I did. Vera watched him thoughtfully. You understand you've made yourself interesting. Jax shrugged. Story of my life. Vera turned to Neris. Your probation continues. But so does your position. Neris's eyes filled. Thank you. Vera looked back at Jax. And you. Jax met her gaze. I want one thing. What? If the Dominion watches this, he said, then humans should too. Vera smiled, small, sharp, approving. You're already thinking ahead, she said. Humans always do, Jax replied. As they left the room together, Jax felt something settle deep inside him. The resonance was gone. The enhanced senses were fading. But the lesson remained. The Dominion had tried to erase a mistake. Humans had turned it into a mirror. And mirrors were dangerous things. Especially to empires that didn't like seeing themselves. Jax didn't sleep that night. Not because he was afraid, though there was plenty to be afraid of, but because his mind wouldn't slow down. The station sounded different now, even without enhanced hearing. Every hum felt louder. Every pause felt meaningful. By morning, the message arrived. Station notice. Medical irregularity under review. Temporary access restrictions applied to Medical Wing C. That wasn't normal. Jax read it twice while standing in the docking bay, surrounded by half-open cargo crates and the smell of machine oil. Around him, other humans were reading the same notice on their pads. No one said anything at first. Then a mechanic named Rhea snorted. That's compliance language. A cook from the lower habitat ring frowned. They only lock wings when they're hiding something. Jax stayed quiet. Humans talked best when they weren't being led. Someone else spoke up. You hear about the nurse? Heads turned. What nurse? Alien one. Good one. Worked double shifts. Dominions sniffing around. Jax felt something twist in his chest. So it was already spreading. Not officially. Not loudly. But through the oldest human network in existence. Conversation. Humans didn't need permission to share stories. They didn't wait for orders. They filled silence with meaning. By midday, Jax's pad buzzed constantly. Private messages. Side-channel pings. Short questions. You okay? That about you? Heard you took alien meds and lived. He ignored most of them. Then he got one that mattered. From DocNet. Human Crew Channel, unofficial. You want us to know something, Rylan? Jax stared at the message for a long second. Then he typed. Yeah. I do. He didn't write a speech. He didn't dramatize it. He told the truth. Wrong injection. 6 hours. Monitoring. Compliance trying to disappear the nurse. Reframing it as research to stop them. No embellishment. No hero talk. Just facts. The channel went silent. Then the replies came in, slow at first, then faster. They tried to disappear her. Typical. Same thing happened on Helix Station. Different excuse. They always say it's for safety. Who's watching them? Jax exhaled. This was the part the Dominion never understood. Humans didn't unite because they were told to. They united because someone crossed a line. By evening, things started to break. Not violently. Quietly. Security drones rerouted the long way around Medical Wing C. Maintenance tickets mysteriously delayed compliance access panels. Station AI began flagging Dominion commands for joint charter review. All perfectly legal. All very human. Jax found Neris in a small observation lounge overlooking the station's interior ring. She was sitting stiffly, hands folded, staring at nothing. They're tightening control, she said without looking at him. I can feel it. Jax nodded. They always do before they lose it. She turned to him, eyes sharp. What did you do? He didn't lie. I talked. Her breath caught. To whom? Other humans. Neris stood abruptly. That's dangerous. Yeah, Jax agreed. For them. She paced, agitation clear. You don't understand how the Dominion works. They isolate. They intimidate. They make examples. Jax leaned against the window. And humans connect. We compare notes. We remember. She stopped pacing. They will escalate. Good, Jax said. Because that means they're reacting. Not planning. Neris studied him like she was seeing something new. You're not just helping me, she said slowly. You're challenging them. Jax met her gaze. They already challenged us. They just didn't expect an answer. As if summoned by the words, the lights dimmed slightly, station-wide. An announcement echoed through the ring. Attention! Temporary Dominion security protocols are now active. Neris went pale. They're locking sectors. Jax's pad buzzed again. DocNet. They're sealing access corridors. Compliance teams moving. They think they're in control. Jax typed fast. Don't block them. Reroute. Delay. Record everything. Neris stared. You're coordinating resistance. Jax shrugged. I'm coordinating inconvenience. The station didn't rebel. It slowed down. Compliance officers found doors needing maintenance checks. Elevators stopped for load balancing. Clearance requests piled up under review. Nothing illegal. Nothing dramatic. Just thousands of small human decisions stacking together. Vox appeared on every public channel within the hour. His face filled screens across the station. Unauthorized interference with Dominion operations will be punished, he said. Human involvement is noted. Jax watched from the lounge, arms crossed. Good, he muttered. Now they know. Neris looked at him. Know what? That humans aren't invisible, Jax said. And we're not alone. Moments later, a new feed appeared beside Vox's. Medical Director Vera Sol. This station operates under shared governance, she said calmly. Any enforcement actions must respect charter law. Vox's image flickered with irritation. The balance was shifting. Not because humans were stronger, but because they were everywhere. In kitchens. In maintenance shafts. In data review queues. In the quiet systems no empire thought to guard. Neris felt it then, not through resonance, but through reality. The station wasn't bending to the Dominion. It was thinking. She looked at Jax. You changed the rules. Jax shook his head. No. We reminded them they were never absolute. Outside the viewport, ships moved along their rails, guided by human hands and alien tech in uneasy harmony. The Dominion believed control came from above. Humans knew better. Control came from the connections below. And those connections were waking up. The first thing the Dominion did wrong was assume the lock was physical. The second thing they did wrong was assume only aliens understood how it worked. By the time the sector lockdown fully activated, Jax was already deep inside Maintenance Spine 3, crouched between fiber conduits and coolant lines, his jacket smeared with grease and dust. Around him, the station hummed, not angrily, not panicked, just busy. Like a mind thinking very fast. His pad buzzed softly in his hand. DocNet. Lock confirmed. Medical Wing C sealed at Protocol Level 4. DocNet. No forced entry detected. DocNet. They're confident. Jax smiled without humor. They always are, he muttered. Neris's voice came through his earpiece, low and tight. Inspector Vox has activated a Dominion oversight lock. It's keyed to compliance authorization only. No station override. Jax exhaled slowly. Yeah. I figured. That lock is not mechanical, she continued. It responds to neural authorization patterns. Emotional stability. Intent markers. Species-specific cognitive signatures. Jax stopped crawling. So it's a feelings lock. Yes, Neris said flatly. A Dominion one. Jax leaned back against the conduit wall, grease streaking his sleeve. Okay, he said. That explains why they think it's unbeatable. There was a pause. Explain, Neris said. They assume one perfect key, Jax replied. One clean signal. One obedient mind. That is how Dominion systems work. Yeah, Jax said. That's not how humans work. Across the station, humans were already moving. Not marching. Not shouting. Coordinating.
Rerouted sensor fits.
A data clerk named Thomas slowed audit queues. 2 janitors in Habitat Ring B blocked a corridor with a temporary spill and a mop bucket. Every action alone meant nothing. Together, they meant time. Jax tapped into DocNet again. Need help with an emotional lock. Anyone ever crack something like that? The reply came from an unexpected source. Old Signal 19. You don't crack it. You confuse it. Old Signal 19 was a retired systems analyst who now ran power diagnostics out of boredom. Jax smiled. I like humans. Neris's voice came through again. Jax, Dominion compliance teams are regrouping. They will attempt forced transfer if the lock holds. Then it can't hold, Jax said. He reached a junction box and popped it open, exposing a cluster of translator nodes, devices that converted between species-standard neural interfaces. These translators, he said, they average signals, right? Yes, Neris replied. They normalize emotional variance. Jax nodded to himself. That's our angle. He patched his pad directly into the node. Dominion locks expect one stable emotional pattern, he said. Calm. Obedient. Singular. Neris's breath caught. You're thinking of feeding it something unstable. No, Jax corrected. I'm thinking of feeding it something human. He sent a message. .net. Anyone near a translator node, patch in. Don't stabilize. Don't calm. Just be yourselves. Neris stared at the console in the medical wing as the node readings began to spike. Confusion. Concern. Anger. Hope. Fear. Determination. Hundreds of tiny emotional signatures, all imperfect, all overlapping. The system tried to normalize them. Failed. Tried again. Failed harder. Vox felt it before he saw it. The lock hesitated. Just a fraction of a second. That was all humans ever needed. Jax spoke softly into his now. The translators dumped the averaged signal into the lock. The Dominion system froze. Not broken. Overloaded. It didn't know how to interpret a key that wasn't one thing. The lock disengaged. Medical wing CS doors slid open with a quiet chime. Neris stared at the panel, stunned. That should not be possible. Jax wiped his hands on his jacket. Yeah. That's our specialty. The station announcements flared to life. Unauthorized access detected. Then cut off. Someone, probably Thomas, had rerouted the feed. Vox stormed down the corridor, his control slipping for the first time. This station is in violation of Dominion authority, he snapped. Jax stepped out of the maintenance hatch into the open corridor. So are you, Jax said calmly. Security officers hesitated. They weren't Dominion. They were station. They looked at Jax. Then at Neris. Then at Vox. The choice wasn't dramatic. It was practical. Verasol's voice echoed down the hall. Inspector Vox. Stand down. Vox's eyes burned. This is human interference. Yes, Vera said. And human ingenuity. Jax met Vox's gaze. You built a system that assumes control, Jax said. We built one that assumes cooperation. The inspector said nothing. Because for the first time, he didn't know how to respond. The Dominion lock, perfect, flawless, absolute, had failed. Not to force. Not to hacking. But to people. And as the station lights stabilized and the doors remained open, Neris felt something she had never allowed herself to feel before. Not hope. Belonging.